Tonight, we're taking a deeper look at a new study about COVID and long-term symptoms. More than 400 million people worldwide have had long COVID since the start of the pandemic, and some people are still feeling the impact with those long COVID symptoms. One of the most common is brain fog, which can impact your ability to think clearly, remember things, and focus on a task. A new scientific study from Gladstone Institutes in San Francisco sheds light on what causes brain fog and the many other brain-related symptoms of COVID-19. Joining us now is senior investigator at Gladstone Institutes, Dr. Katerina Akassoglou, and thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
And this is fascinating to me because we know so many people have long COVID, and you actually studied this. Can you talk about that study, how you did it, and exactly how you were able to discover that COVID is the cause of these brain-related symptoms like brain fog?
Yes, so we were very intrigued with the findings in long COVID patients about the leaks of blood proteins in the brain that were associated with the symptoms of brain fog that you just described. And we wanted to find out, could this leaks of blood in the brain be the culprit of these neurologic symptoms in COVID-19? So our study focused on discovering the role of these blood clots in the patients with COVID. And we found that these are drivers for both the neurologic symptoms as well as also inflammation throughout the body.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question, talking about brain fog. What exactly is causing it as a direct result of COVID-19? You know, we get a cold, we get a flu, you might have pneumonia. You don't think, 2-3 years later, you're going to have a brain injury because of it, brain fog. So can you talk more about that, why COVID-19 has such a big impact?
Yes, so this is actually what started our interest in the study, why these abnormal clots were a feature of COVID-19, even though, as you described, many other viral infections also have inflammation. So we thought that maybe there's something special about this virus that drives this processes in both the body and the brain. And indeed, we discovered that the virus has evolved to hijack our coagulation cascade and to interfere with this clotting proteins, making them very inflammatory and damaging to the body and the brain.
And what other brain-related symptoms did you find people are experiencing as a result of long COVID?
So many other researchers have done studies in patients with long COVID, and they have found effects in memory, as well as also a range of symptoms, confusion, inattention, that persist for many years, sometimes years after the original infection. What we found is that on our studies in models of COVID-19 is that when we deplete these proteins of the clotting cascade and these blood proteins, we can actually protect both for inflammation in the body, but also protect the brain from harmful toxic inflammation, as well as also improve the survival of neurons in the brain, which of course could have a great impact in reducing these neurological symptoms after COVID infection.
And does it matter how serious your symptoms were when you had COVID? I had COVID. I would say I had mediocre symptoms. I had a fever, I couldn't get out of bed for a day, but then I was okay. Were they serious symptoms that these people had, or were some of them barely symptomatic?
Yeah, this is a great question. So what was really puzzling at the beginning is also that even patients with mild symptoms, they have also developed these neurological abnormalities, even including strokes. So there wasn't this correlation that the more inflammation you had, the worse the symptoms always were. And this is where we thought that there could be a direct interaction between these blood clots and the virus that could be driving a lot of this inflammatory processes. So sometimes even mild symptoms can also interfere with this clotting process.
Well, Professor, thank you so much for weighing in on that study. We'll be in touch, I'm sure, again soon to get any updates on this and anything else you have going on there. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.